I learned all about the production and all about the finishing and all of it. It was a great course. And next summer, I couldn't get a driver's ed job, so I just tore all the kitchen cabinets out. So we're gonna get into some of this stuff. I'm gonna go over this. This is put out by Freud. So the next summer I tore that out, and then part of them. And then the next summer I did another wall. And the time I got done, I think I have my kitchen has about 24, 25 raised panel oak doors in it. And then we started working around the bathroom and all our different places. I've made a total probably over 100. So I think I've got a pretty good idea. Well, I remember back that far on some of it.
Yeah, it's like
and I'm
yesterday.
gonna go through what Freud put out. You go on to freudtools.com, you'll get to this thing. And they make very good raised panel, 2x2 it's called, and it does the back side and the front side at the same time. You used to have to do the front side, and then you had to get out another bit and do the back side. So we're gonna roll through these a little bit. And the first one up here, you'll notice, it says, that's an insert door, which means it's totally inside the frame. And with the newest concealed hinges, you can do that. The semi-overlap is the old rolled edge on the door, and the brass would be showing on the stile, and then the back side would be, see, three screws into it. And then you have a total overlap, and that one takes a special hidden hinge that has double axles in it to get it out away from the cabinet to do that one. And it's got to fit it just right to get in the hole. And we're going to talk somewhat about that. So those are basically the three different kinds. If we look at this door up here, this is a 12 by 18. This across here is a rail. And now bottom, this is a square. Now this is top and bottom. And then the stiles are the length of the door, and then the field in the center is how you're going to do with it. This could be plywood, it could be raised panel, it could have very little raised panel, but I'm a hog and I like to take off 1.5 inches off the edges of my doors. So I have a big one, and that requires that router to sit in there. So then they get connection together. You'll notice they have 3/4 inch. You can adjust that. Mine are all start with 13/16. And by the time I sand the front of it, run it through my drum sander, I'm probably down a little bit from that on there. So, any questions on that part? Looks simple, huh?
No.
Yeah. Here you can see the 3-part. There's 4 parts actually, but we're looking at this one. This is a rail, and that's their dimensions for it. And then the stiles, the length of the door, plus if you're doing a overlay or a semi-overlay, you have to add a little bit to the length of that, and then the field is here. The bottom one down here, I'm gonna blow that up a little bit here. That help?
Wow.
All right, this is with the coping cutter. And this, I'm going through their stuff, and then I'm gonna add some my own ideas into these things. But this is basically centered up on a pin. They're doing this basically on measurements, and I'll tell you how I do it from there, which makes more sense to me.
These are kind of dull.
Are you a critic? Okay, I'll give you it for $90. How's that? Here, drop it. Boy, oh boy, Tony. Okay, this is completed, and this is basically the male that's gonna go into your stile. And as we go down, and now they're matching up that lower cutter. And you see this is for a stile. It is a raised, rolled edge in there, and then this is gonna cut that out on the other piece, and that's gonna be on that one there, on that. So they want it flush and flush. That's part of the game you're gonna play, is making sure that whether it's 13/16 or it's 3/4, it could be an inch and a half. You just gotta know what you're doing there eventually on that one. Okay. Creating your raised panel. This, when you got this one done, I would take your time. I wanna make sure this thing's gonna be right for the size door hole you have. So assemble these together, the stiles and the rails, see if it's an overlap, you see if it fits, if it's supposed to be an insert, will it go in nice? You might have to trim a little, you get out your plane, which is right there, on that one, to make that fit. And then, I wrote this down here for a reason. I don't know if you can see it quite here, but there is no gap right here on the stile. You do that, your door will come apart in the summer. It will expand and push the joints out, and you'll end up cracking one of those glue joints. So you're gonna leave 3/16 of an inch on each side to grow. And you're also gonna put some, either the rubber balls, or I use foam, I'll talk about those a little bit in a bit too, on those. I notice I wrote here, too tight, 3/16 on both sides. Give it a little room to move on that one, okay? Any questions so far?
That's why they call it
Going too
floating
fast
bay.
for you? Slow down?
I'd like to finish my panels before I put it together.
Taking my demo away from me. I agree totally, and that's not what they do here. Look at what they do. They wanna finish that whole thing. Now, you're gonna put it together. What happens if the rail doesn't quite match up with the stile?
Make it fit.
You're gonna sand all that off again, or try to sand it off?
Take your block plane out.
You take the panel, and the panel, you're going to stain it, you're gonna fill it, stain it, whatever you're gonna do to it, or you're gonna finish it. You don't have to finish it. If you're not putting any stain on it, then you have nothing to worry about. But you gotta make sure it's there. The other thing is to put these together and make sure it fits with the field. You don't glue things together till you know it's correct. And if you have to make adjustments, then you figure out how to do that with them on there. And I notice I put on here pre-assemble your frame before you do anything. Sometimes you don't even wanna start that thing or cut it until you know what you have here. And this is the relatively easy one to do because they're all straight. We're gonna get into arches, and that changes the ballgame a little bit there. So, on there, yeah, stain only the field, we got that part on there. And now you're into how to do them. And they show it here, making the male part on there, and you end up with that. And there's different profiles on your rail and stiles. You can buy different styles to it. You want a or a bead on there, or do you want just a 45, things like that on that one. That help a little bit on there. And this is what the style will look like. Excuse me, the rail will look like that. And the style is down here. Well, there's the two going together. Now notice what they did there. You can see the gap. That should have been that way in the other one. The other, the thing that you really wanna do is you wanna get the front flat. Sometimes, when I first started, my field was proud of the rail and stiles. And it looked a little like it's gonna fall out the door, fall out the front there somewhere. So you wanna make sure you line all that up, and if you have to, you monkey with it. You have to make the rails and stiles over again, whatever it takes.
Please
Usually in there.
define rail and style.
Pardon me?
Define your rail and style.
The rail is the ones on the top and bottom. That's what we talked about in the first picture back there.
Correct.
Okay. That and that are rails, stiles, right and left. You notice this one's pretty skinny, and that one is too. Those are a little more difficult to work with. You like, 2-inch ones are much better to work with there. All right, let me get back here again. And anything else on here? Flush on both sides, 1.5 inches. This is mine, this is 1.5 inches. You can buy them less than that, it can be 1 inch. Depends how much you wanted to show. No, my nephew calling me. Told him I wasn't home tonight. So, I gotta get going again here, okay. We got that page. All right, what's going on here? I don't have a joiner. I sold my joiner years ago. I don't use a joiner. This I came across is an L-shaped piece of aluminum 10 feet long. And I can set that board on there with double-face tape on the aluminum, stick it down, and rip the other side perfectly straight. And that's good for what I'm doing on there. So if you can't find one of these, I doubt if you will, you can make this out of wood.
Or you can make it out of the metal studs with,
Okay,
with
yeah.
the right angle on them.
That might be where it came from, I don't know, but it works great. I have that up on my rafters and pull that out to rip just about anything there. Double face tape is important, I'm gonna show you some of that. And here's my double face tape, I'm gonna do it right now. This is how I put them together in the rough. I will put this together, glue it, or not glue it, double face tape it. I was lucky enough to be in the flea market years ago, and I bought a roll of this for about $30. This stuff is awesome, 3M product, and I believe the retail probably now is over $100 a roll. It's very, very good, sticky stuff, but it doesn't have to be. You can buy some other ones, much cheaper, smaller rolls of that on there. And once I double face tape them here, you'll notice they're wide. I don't care too much about the length. I'm gonna cut that again anyway to match them. When I cut them in this, I won't have any deviation between one piece and the next piece. They're all gonna be the same, I hope. And you can see there's quite a few here and quite a few here. I was probably making more doors with that one. This is my router. I went through at least 2, maybe 3 routers on getting to this one here. This is what Freud recommends and about everybody else. This is a Porter Gable 3 1/4, and that's about $375 now for that router. And Ray Luckup has one sitting in his basement. So, Gary Friedland went and bought the riser. That was another $360 thing. Crank it up. I don't have one, I don't want one, I can do it without it. If we look at the bottom hole, I think I have another picture of that. This is on the side of my table saw, and it's a piece of, it came from Woodhaven, I think, out in the Quad Cities. It's not metal, and these are adjustments. So I can turn a thumb screw in the bottom and raise a corner if it's catching, so I can get it all perfectly level. I don't leave my router in there because I don't want it to pull it out of plane, but it works very well for what I'm doing. Okay, if I want to make an adjustment in my router, I just push it up, put it on top of the table, adjust it, put it back in there. Rather than crank it, look. Yeah, okay, that's nice, but Gary Freeland broke his somehow. He's buying another one. This is my sacrificial fence. Homemade variety. I'm not sure where I got the vacuum attachment on here, somewhere, but that, goes to my Sears and Roebuck vacuum cleaner on there. And you can see the setup here, that gives me enough room, the distance here gives me enough room that I can put my vacuum in there. And it does a really good job as long as I stay in the fence here. And that is half hidden, so the, roller is right on the surface there. So when a piece of wood goes through, it's going to come off of there and roll and come out the other side. And I just keep it tight. Now, you'll notice this is not a miter gauge. Why do I need a miter gauge? I got a square piece of wood, and I want to go past the miter gauge point, or the perpendicular, so I can run this through there, go into the waste block, and then just take it out. I don't have to return it, I just slide it out this way when it's cut. So that makes that life a lot easier, and I'm just a piece of scrap, you can tell, on there. This is routing the stubs, or the rails. Do those first. Now this is the one that's square, or excuse me, just two parallel lines here. But if I have a arched one, which you'll see real quick here, an arched one, I will still run it like this through the ends. Now I got a nice clean cut and a nice exit out the other. If you try to do this on the end of a miter gauge and you run it out through that router, you'll take this edge right here and tear it off. So you want to back it up with something. And that's what this does here. Compared to, there's some of those sleds, they run them through on a sled, and you better put some sacrificial backing board in there to get them. Okay? Okay, router, you can adjust that, of course, where you want it. Whoops. Okay, here's the arch. This is what I got that done, I got that done, and now I want to cut this on the bandsaw. You know those arches like that. My arch is 1 inch high. The height of it is 1 inch. So from side to side, that's 1 inch higher. So I have to add 1 inch to my field. Got it? Notice these high-tech templates. You don't need to buy some kind of contraption that's gonna get them to you. You can cut them, they're all folded in half. So you've all gone through second grade, right? I wanna make an arch. I have marked it 1 inch, and I know where this one is all equal to that 1 inch mark. So I just cut that off, take it out, lay it on the board, and I draw that in there. Now I have it on my arch, and I can cut. Hi, Laura. Get that big guy out of the way. Okay, so I got most of them cut. And what am I gonna do with this stuff? We talked about expansion in there, but nothing's worse than closing a raised panel door and it rattles because it's in there loose. And if you go to Menards probably and slam some of those doors and see if they respond for you on there. Okay. Notice the wood clamp. I am not going to try to route that with just holding on to that thing. I don't care what size there, I'm going to find something. If I can't do it with that, I'll get a pipe clamp on it. And you'll see that in a minute too. But this is, wood is sacrificial, not me. The stiles themselves, I overestimate by 3/4 of an inch, something like that. And I tape them together. Now I know the length my door is supposed to be. I can cut double thickness. And both those styles will be the same size. You see how I'm duplicating? I don't want one style, one length and the other one not. And so that's an easy one there. Work over here. And now I have my stiles I have to cut. Router, double faced. Now this one, you'll notice, wasn't quite square, was it? My tape job wasn't quite square on there. I'm not sure, but, by having two of these, I can run this against the fence pretty easily. I don't really need my fingers down in there. There's plenty of wood, I can put a push stick on the back of it sometimes, something like that, and run it through. Alright, notice that everything is face down. So face down, I run this side, flip it back over, run the other side. Done. Done. Now all those are with that router and a sharp bit, Tony, they only have to go through once. If you're getting brown marks, burning marks, you either have a dull bit or you're going too slow. And you don't want to go too fast either. Okay, here's the finished product on there. And that's the all double face tape. Now I can take those apart. And how do I get them apart? With a putty knife, something to separate it. This tape, if I tape this in 3 places, it's tough to get apart, especially that tape. You gotta ease it in there and wiggle a little bit and rotate it, and you'll finally start separating it apart on there. Okay, now we're gonna do an arch on the field. We did the other one. The arch here is a copy, basically the same way. I drew it on there and I gotta cut it. Now, removing wood at the top of the arch, use a clamp up here, you'll see that in another picture, the width of the field, and you're gonna cut the top of the arch, and when I do the arch, I may not take a full cut, I may take half of it, because it's just taking a lot of wood off, an 1.5 inch cove on the thing. So you can cut the top off it, and then you come back and then you cut a lot less that way. There's nothing worse than coming in here, and now you start coming this way, and all of a sudden that thing kicks. Cause you're going into the grain down here. Don't ask me how I know that one either. Whoops. Here you get an idea. But, start with the pin, and when you get in here, again, between the back side and the front side, there is a solid piece of steel axle in there. So when you cut in here and you get to it, you want to stay on that pin until you get in there and you get this part on that pin. When that's on the pin, now you can come off of here and roll through. And here you get a look at the series, right up underneath there, right inside, there's a pin, probably, I think it's a 1/4 inch, or excuse me, about a 1/2 inch total, somewhere in there. But that's an 1.5 inch cove cutting here, and then there's the back cutter is working on the back side at the same time. So that's a lot of meat on there. And there we see again, here I've gone from the pin onto the router itself, and now I can catch that. If you don't get there, you're going to go in here, that's not good at all. Because I'm going to tear that corner right off it. So you have to be careful there. How do I do that one? I'm going to back a little forward. Wow, that's pretty good control. Now, crossway is the same thing. If I'm doing the arches, the arch in the bottom, I will have it going this way. Now I'm doing the rail, or the sides, then I got it this way and I can run this in. You could also bring the fence up and run it through that way, same. As you can see here, we're cutting it, and that's the back, this is the back side, and I cut part of it. Now I can come back and cut some more of it out of there. Sometimes I don't, I'll run by the rail a little bit, I'll cut it shallower. I won't have it against the rail. You could put a spacer on here, or a piece of tubing over the top of it, and run 1/2 of it, and then come back and run it again. especially if you're dealing with a router that's not that strong. I mean, if you got a half-inch router bit, but you only have a 1.5-horse motor on it, and you're gonna run one of those 3.5-inch bits in there, you better cut them a couple of times on there. Here we can see it's on this one, and I got the length going there. Here's one crossways. Now I have pretty good control of that. This is basically all plastic. Good way to hang them. And here you can see my go-to foam. Any kind of good closed cell foam will work fine in there. Just cut it up in pieces. And if it's a long door, you might put 3 in there. 2, 1 on each side of the arch. That works fine with that one. Oh my, here went my math skills. Right out the window. Don't pay attention to these, I just laid them in there to be part of the, what it looked like. But 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 on there, setting up mountain. The thing I wanna emphasize, if this is a 2-inch, 2 1/4, I think these are, 2 1/4 inch, this is 1 7/8, I believe on there, yeah. 1 7/8 inches because I'm going on both sides. It's not the outside of the door, it's in between. And you have to work your way across that. And you might make some adjustments from there. Here you can see the bottoms are sticking out on this. And I wanted to make sure I got it all together before I did that too far. And that wouldn't we know pretty much. Here's another vacuum thing. This is a 4-inch on my dust collector. And I got quite a bit of the chips there. If you don't, but those things are all over your shop. You'll tear it all up all over the place. And back up here, there's the test pieces. I save, if I had success making a door, I will save these the first setup. I don't have to go through all that measurement stuff. I just take the piece there that's got the one I want for that bit, put it in there against the bit, lock it down. That's my measurement. And do the same thing for the stiles. It's much, much easier than trying to get out there with a ruler and anything else to work on it. That's high tech, holding the hose in place too. Okay, we'll get rid of that again. And this shows you up close. This is the back side again of that disc, and that's running. Now that's a separate, I believe that's a separate disc at that time I had to run the back.
It's gone.
On there. Insert your weather stripping bands and rails, clamp it together, make sure it fits. Okay? And sometimes when you put these together, your panel, because we got 3/16 on both sides, it might be over to one side a little bit. Uh-oh. Flip it over on the back side, take a soft piece of pine or something, and tap it with a hammer and center that thing up. Get it in where you want it. It's not difficult. Once it's there, I seem to do pretty well. Here's a 2-panel, and again, 1 7/8 in the middle. These are 2 1/4, I believe, on the sides. Here's an arch. I have some doors that are double arch. So now you have to add 1 inch and 1 inch. Math, oh geez. On there. Okay, here's a glue up. And this one, I gotta lay this on. What I did was glue 2 together. Then I put the 3rd one in and glued the 3rd one in with the rest, making sure that this is sitting flat. It's on my saw table on a plastic sheet for, you put it in a desk and roll around on your roller chair like that. It covers my whole cast iron. You don't want to do that on cast iron. So that's in that way. Then, man, here you see it, they're all stained. These are all stained and filled, by the way. I use a clay filler and darken it with lacquer. colored lacquer, and then it's much easier to put that on there, it dries in 15 minutes at the most on there. But they're all good, but look at what's up here. There's a straight board holding this thing all flat and straight on there, okay? We're good? Oh, no.
There it is.
You know how much money it cost me to have a guy make that thing?
How much?
This is the finished one, it's a headboard. It's for my daughter. And if we look at that, all those panels are in a slot. A rail up here where I put that whole thing in there. If I didn't do that, it wouldn't take much to crack it. You don't wanna crack these little corners here on these beads and things. So there's one on the bottom, one on the sides, and one on the top. It's all encased with enough room to move. So you wanna make sure you have an expansion here of quite a bit of wood. And once it's in there, it doesn't, you know, it's gonna be fine. Just put a little more foam in there, hold them together. Okay, more work. 2 cabinets, one on each side of there, and raised panel doors with the arch to match the other part. And there finally is my finished product from my wonderful daughter.
You still have it?
Pardon me?
You still have it?
Still have
She
it.
does.
Well, why not?
I'll be long dead before this thing falls apart.
No, I mean,
No, it's
still in
very,
the family.
it's very sturdy. And what happens is, this is the bed, it just slides in there. So there's no headboard on that. But she will sit in the top of that bed with her back against these panels. So they better be encased in something, or you don't crack them on there. Okay, we're gonna take got time for a tour of the house?
Yeah.
All right. This is in my living room. Ray Luckup worked up here and some other turners. And this is a less arch in it, but there is an arch in here, all in walnut, dental across the top of it. On there, and this is my kitchen. And it works like it did the day I built it. Other than I knew this and I knew that on there. But those are all basically the same thing. That's what I learned to make at that time, and that's the way they are there. This one's about as small as you can get. That arch up there, you know, there's not a whole lot of width in the or height in the panel there. Here's the corner cabinet. 45 degrees in the corners on there. And you can see the yellowing with age. It's got a pretty patina to it. Here's my lower cabinet. As you come in from the front doors over there, you come in this way, 2 doors that open that way, and raised panel on it. This is all ceramic. Don't drop anything on it, it's the only bad part of it, but it's very durable on there. All lighting underneath. Have my electrical skills. So those are either switch, they're on the switches, 2-way switch. This is my TV.
Oh.
And I've made a couple more of these before this one, but again, this is doors, of course, and then it goes in the corner, but the back is not 90 degrees. It's not parallel to the walls. It's flat in the back also, so it open, and the back is open, so I can put all this other stuff in here from the back. So there's not a back on there, other than the cabinets. The cabinets are back, but the rest is not on there. That's my wall mural, that's wallpaper on that side. This is a TV cabinet. Now this one is an overlap door. So you don't see the hinges, and it's just 3/4 of an inch on the front of a door frame. Or excuse me, on the front of a cabinet frame on there. I made that clock too, by the way. My mother-in-law had it. This is my wife's computer table, and very similar. pull-out tray for it, and then all our paperwork, pictures, yeah, all on there. On that one, that's mine. Now, there's one thing here you might notice. Sometimes you forget to do things right. Door handle, chair. I opened this door
Right,
right
yeah.
into me. I opened this door right into me. I lived with it. I said I was not gonna try to redo those doors on that one. So, yeah, I am fallible many times now.
You just have to switch them over.
That won't work. There's holes all over them.
Oh,
I gotta fill the holes with some putty.
Yeah.
And, the handle, what am I gonna do with the handle? Turn it upside down? This is what I've been doing more lately, and this is the raised panel on the end of that computer desk. So why use plywood? You know, just put the ends on it too, as long as you go. This is Formica, black Formica, cut into a board and then glued in to make a nice rim effect, a shadow effect on the top of it.